Most $150,000 a year professionals are not going to lose their titles. They are going to lose their leverage. The next phase of enterprise automation is not headcount reduction. It is definition control. AI systems are quietly rewriting what your job actually contains without changing what you are called. The org chart still shows your box. The compensation band looks intact. But the authority inside the role is shrinking. And shrinking authority eventually shrinks compensation. For decades, job descriptions were slow-moving artifacts. They were written by HR, negotiated during hiring, archived in a PDF, and revisited during review cycles. If scope changed, a reorganization happened. It was visible, it was documented. That model assumed role definition lived in documents. It no longer does. In the AI-instrumented enterprise, role definition is governed by workflow architecture. Your work does not live in a job description. It lives inside CRM pipelines, ERP modules, procurement systems, ticketing platforms, compliance engines, analytics dashboards, and model monitoring layers. When those systems evolve, your work evolves with them. No memo, no renegotiation. When predictive logic is injected into the workflow substrate, decision authority migrates automatically. The structural villain is not AI replacing you. It is configuration replacing discretion. Control is consolidating where thresholds, scoring logic, routing rules, approval hierarchies, and data definitions are set. If you do not control that layer, your scope is being defined by someone who does. Consider marketing operations. A manager once owned audience segmentation and targeting logic. Today, predictive scoring models inside marketing automation platforms select audiences dynamically and allocate budget by model confidence. The manager still owns campaigns, but discretion over who gets targeted has shifted upstream. The title is unchanged. The decision surface is smaller. In finance, variance analysis once required interpretation. Now, anomaly detection engines flag deviations and assign risk weights before a human reviews the file. The finance manager still owns reporting, but first-pass insight is generated by instrumentation. The role shifts from interpretation to validation. Interpretation carried more leverage. In customer success, escalation triage once relied on judgment. Now, churn models forecast risk and routing systems prioritize outreach automatically. The CS leader still owns retention, but prioritization is pre-computed. The system decides who matters first. This is role erosion via text mutation without title change. Enterprises do not need to rewrite HR documents when system architecture reallocates judgment. The architecture absorbs the discretionary layer. The human remains in execution, review, and exception handling. Compensation in white-collar roles has historically been tied to the size of the decision surface. When that surface contracts, pay power follows with a delay. Why is this accelerating? Three forces converge. First, enterprise AI is embedding inside SaaS backbones such as Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, SAP, and Oracle. When predictive models sit inside infrastructure, default settings become policy. Second, compliance pressure is intensifying. Audit trails, explainability standards, and model governance frameworks reduce tolerance for discretionary variance. Third, CFO-level instrumentation is rising. Organizations measure cost per decision, cost per claim, cost per ticket, and cost per account. When systems demonstrate lower variance, capital flows toward configuration control rather than individual judgment. Many professionals misread this shift. They assume automation threatens repetitive tasks while complex judgment remains safe. They believe the final call is still human. But if that final call operates within preset thresholds, discretion is already constrained. Exception handling feels powerful because it is difficult. but difficulty is not leverage. Exception handling is cognitively demanding and economically compressible. It does not scale. It does not compound. If your value proposition centers on catching what the model missed, you are functioning as a high-cost safety layer. Safety layers rarely control budget. The market is splitting into two groups: those who work inside the platform and those who configure the platform. The first group executes within routing rules and scoring thresholds they do not control. Their scope is rewritten whenever defaults change. The second group defines thresholds, weighting logic, governance standards, and escalation architecture. They shape the system that defines everyone else's work. Authority follows configuration. In procurement, AI pre-scores vendor risk and ranks suppliers. Managers approve shortlists, but model owners define the weighting logic. In HR, applicant tracking systems rank candidates, while talent analytics leaders set scoring criteria and bias thresholds. In cybersecurity, analysts respond to alerts, while security engineers configure detection rules and automation scripts. Influence sits with those who design the logic. The quiet rewrite is not about job loss. It is about control surface migration. Professionals earning six figures anchor identity in performance outputs, but architecture ownership determines optionality. As systems mature, performance becomes baseline. The premium shifts to those who configure and govern systems at scale. This explains why promotion slows even when output remains strong. Improving conversion rates is useful. Adjusting the scoring model that routes every lead across the enterprise reshapes revenue topology. Only one compounds. The exposure map is clear. Most exposed are mid-layer managers focused on coordination, analysts performing first-pass interpretation, and specialists whose pattern recognition is codified into models. More protected are systems architects, data governance leaders, model risk managers, platform product owners, and automation engineers controlling routing logic. Protection correlates with control over infrastructure. A common mistake is focusing only on upskilling within current scope. You can become more efficient inside a narrowing box that does not expand it. If your title remains constant while your decision surface shrinks, compensation will reflect execution weight rather than strategic authority. The shift appears as slower salary growth, reduced budget control, and longer promotion cycles. The paper role remains intact, the lived role thins. Organizations eliminate latency, not people. When AI reduces the gap between signal and decision, roles that bridged that gap become fragile. Titles often outlive authority. The question is not whether your job is safe, it is whether you control the configuration layer that defines it. AI does not need to change your title to change your leverage. It only needs to centralize the architecture around you. And architecture compounds quietly.